The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Jeff.
And I'm CJ. We have a guest host today because Chip is in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I hope he earns me some money. I'm telling you, this
Rolling
is
the
ridiculous.
gambling, of course.
Yeah. Hey, he had the trip planned a long time
No,
back.
but I am the active co-chair of today's meeting.
Co-chair, huh?
Co-chair. Yep.
Interesting position.
Oh,
well,
yes.
it was not a quiet day yesterday, that's for sure.
Yep.
A lot of things went on, and Jeff, you were there with me when some of it was happening, so I thought that was very interesting.
16 minutes the meeting didn't last long.
Well, it didn't last long at all, and as a matter of fact, they killed my complaint almost instantly, which was very interesting.
Please explain, everyone, why it was killed and why people should be concerned.
Yeah, I have a big concern. As you remember, we brought up on our Wednesday show that Steve Camara, this is his.
This isn't fake news.
Yep, this is his Homestead Act for Westport. Had filed a Homestead Act in Westport. We then found out that his car was registered in Westport, and he was paying excise taxes in Westport.
Yep.
So we filed a challenge to his residency. Once the challenge to his residency was filed, Steve Camara turned around and filed the Homestead Act on his Fall River property, which made the Homestead Act on his Westport property null and void. And then he went down to the registry and changed his address from 38 Cherry and Webb Lane to 55 LeBaron Street in Fall River. And people were telling me on Facebook, I want proof, I want proof, I want proof. And I said, I have proof. I got the proof from the elections office because the elections office received this little thing from the Registry of Motor Vehicles that says Camara Stephen A., party enrollment, Democrat, ID required at polls, no, license number, I'm not going to say it. No. Date of birth is 8/7/1947. Wow, he was born 2 days after my mother.
Wow. Amazing.
And it says previous address, 38 Cherry and Webb Lane, Westport, Mass. 02791. New residential address, 55 LeBaron Street, Fall River, Mass. 02720. Now, this was received on 9/24/2019, and this was sent to the elections office by the registry, because I don't know if people know this, but anytime you do a transaction with the state government, unless you check a box that says do not register me to vote, they automatically send a registry, a voter registration form or change form to your Board of Elections. So this even tells us where he polls, which is Cardinal Madero's Towers, 1197 Robertson Street. But I wonder where he polled before, interestingly enough. And it does say his voter status is active. Now, I happen to get, also, just to see where he voted, he has always voted in Fall River.
Right.
He's never voted in any other city or town. So at least that's a good thing. And again, I've got the breakdown here. Residential, 923, his residential address was 38 Cherry and Webb Lane, Westport, Mass. And then new information was 55 LeBaron Street, as I said earlier. His status is active. Now, he's had other addresses, from 276 Pine Street to 55 LeBaron Street, from 199 Purchase Street to 276 Pine Street, from 276 Pine Street back to 199 Purchase Street, and 276 Pine Street to 276 Pine Street. He went from the first floor front or something to the first floor rear. So we also have a 228 Purchase Street, Fall River, and 199 Purchase Street in Fall River. So we've got a lot of information that we accrued to show where Steve has been.
Yeah.
Now, he changed his address with the registry, which kind of says something. He filed a Homestead Act, which again says something else. Now, some might say that's just admitting his guilt. And I think, you know what? Maybe it is. But the one thing that it is doing is he's fixing the errors, any way you look at it. But there's a lot of questions. I mean, he was paying excise tax to Westport. Fall River could have used that money. It's not a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but Fall River could have used every dime they can get. But no, it went to Westport. And because his car was registered in Westport, he got a lower interest rate. Lower insurance rate, I should say, excuse me. A lower insurance rate. Now, if you're going to get a lower insurance rate, that's insurance fraud. So we got voter fraud, insurance fraud. What else? What else can we find? And then I get accused, I love this, I get accused of, I'm only going out, this is retribution, this is retaliation. I'm only going out after him because he voted to keep the mayor in office.
I don't think it has anything, it could be, there's a lot of issues that we've had these past few months, because with Steve as the only person who voted to keep the mayor in office because he thinks he has done nothing wrong.
Well, and whether or not that's the case, I know his position has always been innocent until proven guilty. But the thing is that he was elected to represent the people of Fall River. Part of the first, Article 5, says very clearly that you shall always be answerable to the voters. Okay? You have to represent the voters and what they want. The majority of people in Fall River wanted that vote to be unanimous. They wanted that vote to remove the mayor, and that was the majority. And if you take the majority just from the votes that Paul Coogan got, that's 63% of the vote. So guess what? His vote was what he wanted to do, not what the people wanted to do. And that right there says a lot about your voting record.
Now, could you explain to people in the past, because of his property owned, because a lot of people have been complaining about his neighborhood where he owns property. I'm sure his street area has gotten fixed.
Oh, it has. That's the Purchase Street project.
Yep.
So, again, he's beholden to the mayor. And again, this is not retribution.
It's not.
It's not retribution. I would have done this to anyone who had done it. But as a city councilor told me this morning, had it been them, or had it been another city councilor, you can believe that this thing would have been heard, they would have been removed from their seat, and they would have been removed from the ballot.
Some people are saying that the council should make a vote on removing Steve Camara from office. But why bother right now? Because election is coming up in November, and we know that 2 years ago, and I have it right here, he was in 9th place.
Right.
He had 4,699 6.31 voters.
Right.
He was in 9th place. He got beat he was 9th place with Michelle Dion, who was in 8th place, or 7, and then Trottley was in 11. So that means...
No, Michelle Dion was in 10th place.
10th place, my bad. Well, Trot was 11, but what I'm saying is that you really think the voters of Jay's supporters are going to vote for him because he stood up for him?
But the thing is, even with that, if you take the number of voters in the primary that voted for Jaysley, you got 2,777 votes. That's not enough to get on the council.
No.
That is not enough to get on the council. And
that's low.
Right. And a lot of people feel that he may not make the cut for the city council for the next term. And that's okay. He is entitled to a pension from the state or the city, depending on how he wants to do it. And that decision would be made based upon his benefits. I don't believe he filed with the city, but he may have filed with the state because he worked at Bristol Community College for a while.
Well, I'm sure he will get that then. But
of course.
But it's really sad that we have to deal with so much issues lately with court cases after court cases, because Tuesdays is October 1st is the mayor's, whether or not he is allowed to serve his office until January.
Right.
And the council wants to have him removed for the time being and paid with leave. So
we're in court so much right now. I'm telling you, we're gonna have a legal bill up our butts.
And everybody's saying it's the taxpayers' money. We get that, but listen, this isn't. Don't blame people that want to blame the mayor. Blame people that are making this of an issue. You got the mayor. You got Joshua Hetzler, who's going to be in Boston's court in the October the 3rd. So, and he's
challenging the charter.
He's challenging the charter, which you, myself, Chip, everybody who voted against this knew that this was crap.
Right.
And I love to use that. I love to take Chip's words, crap, crap, crap.
Yep.
And this has been a baloney, because we know that you cannot take 2 seats. You cannot receive a city job and a part-time government job.
But that's what it says in the charter.
But he thinks it is his constitutional right as an American voter.
He's saying that it's a violation of his First Amendment rights. Now, the thing that's funny is not only is he asking to have the opinion of Attorney Macy struck down, he's also asking that the city pay his legal fees and that he be given punitive damages. Now, punitive damages could be any amount of money that the court decides. I mean, that could be $1, it could be $100,000, it could be $1 million. So, and this is in federal court, so this is going to be very interesting to see what happens. I think the court will award him legal fees. So again, like we're doing with the mayor's case and the city council, here's what we're paying for: the city council legal representation,
yep,
the city representation, and the mayor's representation. So we're paying for 3 lawyers right there for that one case. Now we have another case in federal court with Josh Hetzler, who has an attorney who he's paying, and I'm telling you,
God,
it's not going to be cheap.
Nope.
But Josh can afford it. He has a roofing company. And he wants to maintain that he wants his job. Why he wants to fight for a job that pays so little on the school committee.
$16,000.
What?
$16,000.
No, that's the city council.
Oh, how much do they get for school committee then?
I don't know. It used to be 2. I think it's probably about 6 or 7.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But
and the thing is that that money isn't going to make a dent in his paycheck. There's no question about it. When you consider the fact that the amount of money he makes as a firefighter and the amount of money he makes as a roofing company.
And plus he gets a pension, of course, as a firefighter.
When he retires.
After he's retired. But listen, I have no problems if he wants to be a school committee. Just, I don't think they will allow it, but if he doesn't receive a paycheck.
He's not receiving a paycheck. That's why I'm saying on the school committee, because you can only receive 1 paycheck from an employer.
Well,
so he can't receive the school committee money. So I don't see what the big issue is per se, but the charter commission, more like charter idiots, decided that this was important because they didn't write this charter. They hired a company, a guy, to come in and write it, and all they did was go, yes.
$40,000.
Yes, $40,000.
And listen, I was there a few times when the charter was having their meetings normally, but I paid close attention. And I agreed that there were some things I completely understand and I approved it, and some things I didn't. But the fact was I didn't trust this charter to be approved, but yet it got approved. So I really hope on Thursday that they will not allow him to continue on as a school committee, because I believe he will still be on the ballot, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Correct.
So that means
But if the court rules that because see, here's the case. Here's what they got to look for. The federal court's got to look at. Was there any precedence in this case? Is there a similar case in another jurisdiction or in another city or town in Massachusetts where this type of verbiage in their charter prevented somebody from serving as a city employee and a city elected official at the same time? Mm-hmm. And what was that ruling? Then you have to look at, is there any of those outside of the state of Massachusetts? Was there any case like that outside of the state of Massachusetts? Which is another big issue, which some people don't care about, some people care about, but the court will care about it. Now, if they can't find either, which I don't think they will, but if they can't find either, then the court has to make new law.
They should.
And they're going to base it solely on the verbiage of the charter. That's what they'll base their decision on. And that could go two ways, because if the court decides, and I think that's why he filed this as a violation of his First Amendment rights. But if they say that the charter is valid in this issue, his First Amendment rights are not being violated, then that will hold up all the time in the future. But if they say it's not, we're going to have a charter with more holes in it than we know what to do with. This charter was not worth the paper it was printed on from day one.
Nope.
From day one, and that's the problem. The only charter commissioner that was against this was Danny Robillard. He constantly said no. He constantly said this is not right. This is not going to work. But Mike Mioza and Chris Bartley just wanted to keep slamming this down everyone's throat, and they got it passed. And then, amazingly, the Fall River voter, which doesn't surprise me, in their infinite idiocy, because they don't look at what they're voting for. They really don't. They don't know what they're voting for. They voted yes on this. Now, the rumor, or one of the thoughts was that the reason why they voted for it was for more charter schools. It had nothing to do with charter schools.
I think that's why people got confused too.
Right.
And also with the other ballot that
but
was
if
in
you
the
read
question.
it, if you read the question, and that's the key. If you read the question, and a lot of people didn't read the question, they just said, "Oh, that's about charter schools." Okay, boom. Or they said, "Yes, it's about a new charter. Yes or no." We advocated a no vote on this charter since day one. And now we're stuck with it. What I would love to do, what I would love to see, is the court strike down the entire charter, in which case we won't have a charter to operate under.
I wanted to say this because I don't know if we can do it, but I wanted to see if we can try and get a petition to get to redo this charter, because I don't think we can wait another 2 or 3 more years for this.
15,000 signatures.
15,000.
Over 15,000 signatures are necessary. That's a lot of signatures to get. That's a lot of signatures. It took Mike Mioza 3 years to get them.
So 3 years. So, and there's a time limit for this, right?
No. In 2022, a new charter review where they can make changes to the charter. The charter's got a 5-year period.
I get that, but I think it's for the best to see if we can try and get this whole things done. Because
What I would like to, and honestly, what I'd like to see is the federal court strike down the entire charter in its entirety, where Fall River won't have an operational charter. It won't. It'll have no operational charter. And once they do that, and have the people go back to the old charter. We didn't have these problems under the old charter.
No.
We didn't have these problems. Do I think we need a new charter? Yes.
Yes, that's why we voted for it.
And I even put in the hands of Mike Mioza a proposed charter, which is a type F type charter, type E type F type charter, which came from Worcester.
They didn't
even bother reviewing it.
No.
They didn't bother reviewing it. So what was the sense of doing it? Again, the elected officials don't do or discuss what the people want to be done.
You have the mayor, you have people who pick and choose what they say in the charter. For example, I can be in the city council chamber because I'm part of the city government. But no, you have to get the whole issue with him and Cliff Ponte arguing on television is that you have to have permission first. This is not the first time that Jazio made a scene at that council chambers. What happened with Sean Gadim when he was in president. So it's like everybody can pick and choose what they say in the charter, but
well, the thing is that there is a separation of powers, and that's why the mayor himself needs to be invited. The problem is they used to say, and they've got to correct this, because they always used to say, we're going to invite the administration down. When you invite the administration, that could be construed as including the mayor. you need to say we're going to invite the city administrator and the chief financial officer down, or the city's financial team down, not the administration. But they wanted to make it easy on themselves, and laziness gets problems.
So, do you want to get real quick on the so-called rumors with the mayor was supposed
Well, I'm
to
not even going to go into rumors. I'm going to go into what I know. Okay.
Well, hey, a lot of people went down to his campaign place, and they're like,
Yeah, he had a campaign strategy session on Wednesday at LaPage's Seafood, which was very interesting.
Do you want to hear what that might be the case? Because I think he's saying he wants to have all different voters trying to write in Kathy and Viveris as a write-in.
Not only Kathy and Viveris, and at that meeting he was trying to find 2 more people who would run sticker campaigns to, quote, take votes away from Paul Coogan.
No.
Now, interestingly enough, I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count.
Okay.
Which city councilor was at that meeting speaking for the mayor?
Steve Camara.
Bingo! Bingo! So again, we can see what's happening.
Yep.
And we know what's happening. Steve Camara got his street done nicely. He got, I call it now Purchase Place.
Yep.
Got that all done nicely. The mayor gave that to him. Because initially it wasn't supposed to go down that far. Now it went down that far, which was funny.
I've been down there. I see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the only streetscapes program that looks good. East Main Street looks like crap.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. East Main Street does not look good at all.
Yeah, some places right now isn't looking too good, and that's why a lot of people have been complaining. Some counselors saying rip the street up like Leo Pelletier, but
rip it up and do it right. And you can't blame them. You really can't blame them. Rip it up and do it right, and that's the key. But you got to be careful on where you're going with some of this stuff, because these streetscape projects are over by millions of dollars. And we're not getting anything. And the funny part about it is that whole Purchase Street thing benefited who? It benefited Dave Hebert, who pled guilty.
yes.
Who pled guilty.
Yep.
Okay? It benefited Steve Camara. It benefited his girlfriend's family, because their restaurant is right there on Purchase Street. So they benefited. All friends and compatriots of the mayor.
You do him a favor, he does you a favor.
Right.
And that's...
And sometimes those favors cost $250,000.
I want to say, because I was at the city council meeting on Tuesday, really, really quiet. Nobody was there. No Jazel supporters, no Michelle's supporters. Just a few people. Only one citizen input, which was Dan, that spoke. But they override the mayor's veto.
Which is a good thing.
Leo Pelletier was so happy at the end of that meeting, and he was like giving Derek a shake in the hand. He was like, my friend. I'm like, oh my God. Finally, actually, Derek spoke more on Tuesday than he usually does.
I know, that right there is a miracle of God. He must come down and, touch his vocal cords or something, because he never says a word. Even when he votes, you can't hear him. It's like, no. I mean,
I just don't understand, because the council gave their honest opinion on why they have to override the mayor's veto, and Steve Camara thinks they're not putting him on Guilt Street, but the fact is that the council can make a number of marijuana stores, which is now 11, and I know
which I still think is too many.
Well, I know it may be too many, but I do like to see more business here. But right now, since all this has been put on hold for the time being,
because of the allegations against the mayor on taking bribes or extorting money from marijuana companies, this Cannabis Control Commission has said about Fall River.
If you wouldn't mind mentioning this, neighborhoods unhappy with the marijuana dispensary.
Yes, I know. They're complaining about the parking. They want that dispensary to have off-street parking and off-site parking and have a shuttle run from the off-site parking place to the dispensary because there's too much traffic congestion and too much noise. And you can't blame them. They did that in Wareham.
And
the marijuana dispensary is over by Toby Hospital. They were parking in Waterwiz or whatever it was called and taking a shuttle over to the marijuana dispensary and then going back. And that's not a bad thing. And the amount of money these marijuana dispensaries are making, they can afford.
Yeah.
They can afford a bus or a shuttle. I mean, come on, you get $430 some odd dollars a gram? Give me a break. I mean, people are buying it for less money on the street. And they're getting better stuff on the street.
I'm sure. I'm really sure because, you know, I have no problems with marijuana. I smoke once a blue moon, but I don't see no issues.
Oh, you're a druggie. No, back. No, I'm only kidding.
Nah, let me say this, and I know a lot of people saying that you know, marijuana is a gateway to drugs.
Gateway drug, yes.
It's not. Depends on how you are as a person. Take responsibility, like drinking, and you know.
Alcohol is a gateway drug, if you want to put it bluntly. People drink to oblivion,
but you see,
and it's not enough.
But you
and
know,
so they go to something else.
But you know how many people are saying that it's going to lose business because now with the temporarily ban on the governor is putting
the
a
vaping.
ban. Yeah, I think this is a part of either two things. Either they are considered as a serious issue, but they may say this as a tobacco industry problem because they're not doing too well. You know, you're paying like $10, $11 on a pack of cigarettes plus tax. And they may want to tax.
Plus, you're getting taxed twice. There's
twice.
a tobacco tax, and then there's a sales tax.
Yes. So you're paying a lot of money just for one pack of cigarettes.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they want to put a tax on these now after next year. They might. I can't.
Well, there's a sales tax on it right now. That's for sure. But on vaping, and there's a sales tax on marijuana.
And
the interesting thing about the vaping is there was another death yesterday from vaping. And one of the causes that is now being looked at is vitamin E.
Really?
Because it may be used in some of these off-market or whatever they want to call them.
I'm sure people can make these, right?
Right.
And that's it's like making your own drugs.
Exactly. And they're thinking that when people inhale this, and if they inhale the vitamin E oil, it stays in the lungs and goes down to the lower parts of the lungs and then gets into the smaller infiltrates and creates a problem.
Well,
and you know, I can understand that. But again, you know, 10,000 people, 100,000 people die from smoking cigarettes every year.
Every year.
But we've had what, 15, 60 people die from vaping, and all of a sudden we've got to stop it.
Well, it's really it's really.
And I'm not a supporter. I'm not a supporter of vaping. I mean, there's no vaping here on the BCC campus. There's no vaping on any state property, but people want to do it.
Well, exactly. It's people's choice. I think some people say it's much better than smoking, which is fine. But cigarettes are much more threats than this right now. But I know I believe a person was killed just by the battery inside, and it blew up. And you don't see that on cigarettes that much, but yeah, but everything touches kills. And it's a shame.
It's always very interesting when we see what happens, that's for sure.
So, anything else you want to talk about?
We don't have any time. The time's out.
Oh my God, already?
It goes by fast when you're not paying attention. Hey, everyone. I'll tell you, it's always good. And it was nice having you as a guest host.
Thank you, CJ. And
I hope. Go ahead.
Chip will be back on Monday, and as he always say, stay angry.
Yep. And we'll see you on Monday.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.